Good evening and welcome here to the 2014 Kyoto to 50. As this little title screen tells you, we're in Kyoto. It is a 1.9 mile oval, and for the 7th time in NDR history and in LFS history, we're doing a 250 mile race. Today is race day after we've seen qualification races yesterday. At the moment, right this moment, the pace car is pulling away from the field for the first of 5 pace laps. After these pace laps, the field is unleashed, and then we'll see who will take the crown after 135 laps in total. Taking a look at the track. First of all, the track map. You see it's a very interestingly shaped oval. We do have 3 corners and a kink. In that kink there is the restart zone, where we will see the initial start of the race. And we see that there are 2 pit lane entries, one for green flag pit stops, the other for yellow flag pit stops. This has caused some troubles in the past. Some people got confused, but either way, we hope to see most of the time green flag pit stops. You can make the race on a bit more than a tank of fuel, so if this whole thing stays green, we have at least 1 green flag pit stop from all the guys here on track. If it gets yellow during the race, we are going to see no green flag pit stops, just pit stops for repair during the cautions. As you see, it is an oddly shaped oval, but also the banking is rather interesting. There are differences. All 3 corners are different. There is a certain progression in the banking, and as you see, turn 3 has the lowest banking. This causes the most trouble for most of the guys. But also a very interesting high line through that corner throughout most parts of the race. There can be situations where someone has to go down deep, but this is not really helping the pace. Also, it gives the front right tire some heat, and this front right tire is a difficult tire to handle. Again, if this all stays green, some people might even need to pit for this very tire, but we will see. We've seen some pretty long green flag phases in the past years. The longest was an 80 lap green flag run just after the start of the race. Let's hope to see it here again, and we go through the starting lineup in a bit, as we have 3 pace laps remaining. So this is the front of the grid. Martin Kapal on pole position. On the right to him, Patrick Hall. Robin Friskops and Phil Diaz, the next row 2. Row 3, Remco Mayon and Ronnie Krompusch. Row 4, Przemek Wodoriec and Nathan Lamoth. Mihail Velnikov and Joe Letterello in row 5. Row 6, Matt Kingsbury and Jan Laprovod. Row 7, Matthias Ventieri and Branislav Goga. Row 8, Zdenek Kagash and Jay Cameron. Row 9, Karolis, Monty Dritis and Borislav Botev. Row 10, Ian Harmon and Travis Travis Wilbur. Sorry, I got confused with a voice on my ears. Row 11 to 15, we've got Gustas Pusheta, Ray Kingsbury, Jack Sedgwick, Jordan Lafrikov, Jarl Tyen, Jesse Telkela, Roman Kvifkil, Stephen Martin, Milos Gabalowski, Jorge Bento, and Nicola Mangani. So these are your rows. And here we see the raceabout pace car of today. Stuart Baker driving it again. Hopefully he will have as much to do as Bernd Mailander today in Malaysia. Though the odds for this to happen is very, very, very low. Phil Diaz said yesterday that if you go to Las Vegas and set a bet on the fact that this whole race stays green, you would get $1 million as a reward if your bet is correct. And as you might see, the car on the right of Patrick Hall, first of all, it is not Kapal on the inside of this race. Second of all, it's Friskops on the outside of row 1. And this has something to do with Flame, with Martin Kapal having a disconnect during the first pace lap. He's still allowed to start, but from the back of the grid. The final instructions from our race director today. It is Jonathan Palmer. Just one final view from the back, from the rear cam of Stuart Baker. We're just moments away from the 7th Kyoto 250 race. And there he dives down the pit lane. Green flag! Kyoto 250 2014 is underway. Yellow on the backstretch, there are cars spinning, among others Joe Letterello, Ian Harmon. I think I've seen Branislav Goga involved in this also. Then we've got here Bento on the apron. Montejuitis and Stephen Martin having a significant damage here. Oh yeah, especially Stephen. Just if you look at the car, he piles down to the pit lane with such heavily damaged car. I don't think this is going to get a penalty other than starting the restart from the end of the longest line. Pit lane opened just right now as he stops just in front of the pit boxes. On this layout there is a wall preventing you from cutting the pit lane too heavily. And so Stuart Baker's doing his next laps just after he started the race. He's now just again at the lead of the pole pack. Some people are faking a pit lane entry, others are doing it rather properly, and they are coming in. Matt and Ray Kingsbury, Travis Wilbur, Borislav Botev, and Goga, Branislav Goga. Other people in the pit lane: Kronbusch, Sedgwick, Harmon, Letterello, and Bento. Letterello most likely will get his laps back on this restart, before this restart. I think he had also issues that made him lose a lap. He's currently ranked behind Stuart Baker, so that's why why this is my guess. Speaking of Joe Letterello, he just gets the command of our race director to overtake the safety car queue, safely on the outside. He does not have to start from the end of the longest line. He will be put back into this very spot he is right now in. As I said, it has something to do with the problem he had earlier. Now he's going to pit lane again. Repairing damage, standing right behind Branislav Goga. So current running order, we've got Patrick Hall in front of Phil Diaz, and these two actually worked pretty well together yesterday during the Twin 115 number 2. After the race, Phil told us that if he had a choice, and if this choice wouldn't be his teammate, then he would definitely choose Patrick to run with him in that tandem bump draft system. They got away from the rest of the field pretty easily yesterday, so it's going to be interesting to see. He was in the race that celebrated a record, as it was the first ever twin 115 to be finished without a safety car intervention. Since we're under caution, I can tell you the info where to get into contact with the Commentary booth. You either go to the lfsforum.net, look into the general LFS discussion and look out for the thread 2014 Kyoto 250 live on simrace.tv. Or you go to Twitter, twitter.com. There you can reach us with @ndr_LFS or with hashtag Kyoto250. And today I won't read out accidentally the tweet of Steve Martin he posted last year. So speaking about the safety car restarts, they will work out in the old NASCAR way. So lapped cars may start from the inside, while everyone on the lead lap has to start on the outside. This time around, this would only go for the 991 of Stephen Martin. However, he pitted under closed pits, so he has to start from the end of the longest line and cannot use his inside lane advantage. So he's one lap down, and he will stay one lap down. There we are with the safety car. He's going to give over the pacemaking to Patrick Hall. Patrick goes a rather tight way. You may only overtake on the outside between the restart, which is now out, and the start-finish line, which comes here. gaggle of cars here, with Velikov, Lavrikov, Telkala, Capel. We had to start this race from last position. This whole pack sorts itself out. At least for now it looks like. Telkala running the inside line in that livery that was run by Kimi Räikkönen in the NASCAR Truck Series. But you see, you're losing kind of an amount of momentum there. So that inside line is not always the line you want to choose. Little gaggle here for Lavrikov. So leading this race, these are the four guys. Patrick Oldfield is Robin Friskops. And we go on board with Gablowski, who is in the middle of a multi-car fight for track position, first of all. With all cars running different lines. And Bento is causing a yellow flag, but he is the very last car in the queue. So this should stay green, as he is back running in the right direction. But Gablowski got spun! And oh dear, big crash, Kagash involved. Laprovod involved. Kapal also involved. There's another car, Botev is involved. Big accident. So Gablowski got probably spun by a bad bump there. So no chance. And just in the middle of this yellow flag, I'm joined by someone you might know. Hello, Isaac Price.
Hello.
So how did you find the way to the Kyoto 250?
Well, sort of came on TeamSpeak, got asked to commentate, pretty much. That simple. I've got a few teammates racing, so have a bit of an interest in the race as well. Hopefully it can be a bit less of a wreckfest than the previous Kyoto 250s.
Oh yeah, please. But yeah, we're already under the second safety car intervention with just 12 laps done.
Seems good. Oh wait. Seems like the usual faces at the front though.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially with your teammates Phil and Robin in second and third.
Yeah, well, I guess driving this combo for those guys is like riding a bike. You don't forget how to do it, and if you can qualify up the front, then you're out of the wreck. Because Jesse Telkel at times out of the race. I guess, are you able to rejoin? I don't think you are you?
You aren't.
So that's his race over then?
Yeah, that's his race over.
Unless Deco feels like being kind.
Well, I can understand that he'll rejoin right afterwards. Yesterday we've had a big server issue with multiple people losing connection. So with the experience of yesterday, it is a very sensible move, but yeah, this time it is not that the whole world got a disconnect.
Yeah, well, apparently yesterday it was a DDoS, but at least that's what I heard from Deco yesterday. But it seems a bit of a shame that so early in the race, but I guess that's better than timing out halfway, like near the end of the race after all the hard work goes in. Although,
yeah,
to be honest, just qualifying for this race takes quite a lot of time, so.
Yeah, that's true. Qualifying was yesterday with the whole procedure of 2 qualifying races and a hot lap session. So you really have to be into this to just be able to race.
Yeah, well, I guess you can look at it either way though, that it's quite, you got all the practice races and stuff which you could think of as a chore, but at the same time it's probably a bit of fun as well. I mean, if you enjoy the oval racing, then it's probably quite fun to be doing the races, and they're usually a bit cleaner as well because it's less on the line, whereas it seems when it gets to the actual Kyoto 250, because it's a one-off event, everyone wants to win, so if they seem to lose that part of their brain where they lift off in the case of an accident and stuff, but I haven't actually ever driven the XRT in a Kyoto 250. I've done the 500, but I don't have that much experience on the XRT side, and there's a lot more skill involved in actually just driving the XRT around here. And the FO8 is pretty much flat out all the way around, and the difference between the best and the worst is like half a tenth, whereas here, being a good driver around the track can make a couple of tenths difference, and that obviously makes a big difference in qualifying. And then the bump drafting as well, there is an art to that, it's not just simply driving to the back of the car in front.
Yeah, hopefully we can now see it a bit longer executed perfectly. Green flag is out.
The front, it looks like the lead 2 have managed to make a bit of a breakaway. And then sort of 9th and 10th back, there's a big group of cars, so hopefully they can all start to space out a bit, otherwise I guess there may be a wreck soon. Hopefully once the cars spread out it should be okay, but it's just at the start when everyone's so close together, everyone's trying to make their way through.
Yeah, the group with Pachetta, Sedgwick, Cameron, the Kingsburys. For Kagash and Kronpush and Skablowski, it seems. Meanwhile, it's pretty clear that I lost my Euro. I've set on the bet that this race would be clean all the way.
Yeah, you're always going to lose that Euro.
Well, it was pretty.
You know, you might have had a chance of winning a Euro if you have said, you know, there'll be under 10 cautions in this race. You might have had a chance. One, you're always going to lose it.
Yeah, probably it's like that.
But it seems to be kind of weird, you know. I don't quite get why everyone feels the need to be so pushy at the start of the race. I mean, it's 140 laps long. You just got to keep your car in it and stay clear of all the wrecks and stuff, you know. There's no reason to be so forceful at the start. You've just got to work your way through. And I mean, there's a mandatory pit stop as well, isn't there? Or it's not necessarily mandatory, but you need to on the fuel. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, you would have thought it's a lot easier to make your way up using tactics rather than trying to force your way through. Especially when it's when it's so effective on the draft. You know, you can't really make up that many positions by taking risk because you gain a bit, then you lose a bit. It's just about finding the right guy to be working with, someone you trust, and then using them to work your way through the field.
Yeah, and what I found interesting at this restart was that actually your teammates did not work together with each other. They had their very own partner to team up for this very restart.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is with the restart is it's not them who's controlling it. So because obviously there's Hall at the front of it in the 32, and you know if he gets away at the start, there's not much they can do about it. It's kind of pointless for them to drop back. It'll just hold them up in the long term, but for now it's just about staying at the front of the field. I guess they feel that they can trust Hull. There's no reason to try and draft past him. They're quite happy to work with him right now. I mean, there's a long way of the race left, so it's not that important right now, I guess.
Yeah, Phil worked with Patrick the whole yesterday's qualifying race, so they two know each other pretty well, and also Phil says that from the internet connection, it's very nice to draft with him.
Yeah, Hall's from Canada, so their pings are fairly similar, but that doesn't really make that much sense to me that it would make a big difference. But I think Hall's an experienced guy on the oval side. I would have thought that's more a factor than the ping, but.
Well, he said that he only received 2 bad bumps during the whole drafting yesterday, which is for such a long run a very good number.
Yeah.
Especially as yesterday's race went without a caution. So third restart again, Hall from the first position.
Cross fingers for a long green flag run now.
Green flags out. A big group of cars again from 10th place on. With some honking even going on.
Yeah, it looks like Joe is in the 3 is very close to being in the draft of the guys in front, so if he drops out of that, that's where the big group is gonna form, but looks like he's in the middle. No, he hasn't quite got it. Or he did have it, but then the car in front pulled away because he was in the draft of him, and yeah, so looks like there's gonna be a gap forming there.
Ooh, Cameron with a sideways moment.
Yeah, I think he got a tap from the 720. It's a big group of LLM drivers though, you would have thought they could work together a bit better. Seeing as they're all surely working with each other. But nope, they're all going to go side by side with 4 cars in the last corner. With Jack Sedgwick, the master of rolling, in that group as well. It seems where the wreck is imminent. If that's not too cynical.
Ooh.
Yeah.
As you speak of it.
Ray King's got a bit sideways and it caused a bit of a concertina effect. But it looks like it's starting to space out now.
But at the front, we're having a huge pack.
When Yavi tries to get through, and oh, there's a lag contact with the 19. He went into the wall and he got a little bit of right side damage, but that should be okay. Yes, that's a pretty dream scenario for the Inex guys now. They've got 3 guys in the same team, all in the same group. They've worked with the 911 of Jarl Tyen as well last year, who won the race, so... Ooh, that was close. Jarl went into the side of Yavi, and if it had been a little bit faster he would have knocked him into the wall and caused a wreck, but just about got away with it.
And now Jarl receives a push from Remco and pulls away from Matti.
I cursed that one a little bit.
It's always like that from our spot.
But it looks really difficult to drive with this wind. You're getting sideways even in turn 1. So I would have thought it's an easily flat corner without the wind, so... But I guess a bit of it is just adapting to the different balance you get. Even if it's a flat out corner, you still have a bit of a balance change if there's a bit of wind. You're not used to it necessarily in the first laps of the race. Especially when it's been so long under caution, their tyres haven't got up to this temperature and pressure before, so...
Fastest lap by Nathan Lamoth, who received a triple draft from the cars in front. And the LLM guys!
The LLM guys got together and Cameron's in the wall. I really wonder why they can't work together. Like, you know, it's so long left of the race, why do they need to race each other? You know, they could just work together, move forwards in the grid.
Yeah,
now Cameron doesn't have a draft partner either, so he's got to wait until he can maybe tuck in behind Botev in the 46.
Well, if Botev lets him.
Well, Botev doesn't have a draft partner either, so he doesn't really have much of a choice.
just in front of them there are Sedgway. Oh,
Bit
Velikov.
of lag there. And 33 of Laprovok gets sideways. Velikov tries to go underneath them for some reason. But it just shows the difference, you know, you've got the experienced guys at the front who are all content to just sit with each other and not battle each other for position, and then you've got the guys in the midfield who are all racing each other like it's the last lap. Oh, and they're going to get close in the... Oof, that was close, I think.
Fast and Crazy. That's the team name.
I think at first Jack tried to put him off the idea of doing it because he can obviously see that they should be working together, but then when he realised it wasn't going to work, as he's in the wall, so he's lost a lot of speed.
He's in the wall after contact.
He's not even in the rev zone either. He's really needs a draft now. But it looks like he should be able to tuck in behind Cameron.
Cameron with his teammate Pontichutis in front of him. Ooh, and Jack goes for the inside.
Wow, that actually worked out quite well for him, because now he's perfect. But it seems weird, there's quite a lot of bad contacts, but I'm not sure if it's lag or just the way they hit them, because I know it depends like where you hit the rear bumper, because if you get caught on like the number plate, it can cause bad contacts, so I guess that's something you learn with a bit of experience.
Well, yesterday we could see Altine's car being deformed just on the front left of the car. So that was the place where
he's obviously bumping the right side of the other guy's car to avoid the bumper with his left side, I guess. I would have thought that's probably the easier way to do in a left-hand drive car. Obviously, you're then a lot less likely to sort of catch the apron and stuff. But I don't know.
Now Montejutis has the pole sitter in front of him. Martin Kapal, who would have started the race from pole position if he hadn't a connection issue on the pace lap.
Yeah, we were racing on a public server yesterday and he was having quite a lot of connection. I'm not sure if it is actually. Might have been the day before, I can't remember anymore. But yeah, he had quite bad connection issues then. It doesn't seem to be as bad right now, but hopefully that will last.
The group is growing, and the contact.
Yes, it seems like Garbalowski and Kapal want to work their way through. They were working quite well together and they seem quite happy to try and stick together, but obviously it's one thing to be able to get to the front, it's another thing of the group, but it's another thing to be able to actually break away from them. Although actually now it looks like they might have a chance if they get together behind.
And now they passed Velikov. So their chance to break away from this group.
And now, as well, when you start to get this far into a run, it starts to become about how you look after your tyres as well, because I mean, you can obviously, you might be able to be fast, but if you like carry that little bit extra speed in, you don't gain anything because of the draft, but you do put that little bit extra load through your tyres, and you can clearly see there's a few guys who've got like hotter tyres than others, and obviously the longer the run goes on, the more and more the difference gets, because if like, cause obviously here you seem to heat the right front the most, so obviously the more you do that, the more it'll scrub, and the effect will get worse and worse and worse. Obviously right now it's not a huge issue, but if the green flag run continues for longer, then it'll start to possibly force errors from drivers, and you'll get the situation maybe when someone's on the inside and understeers up into the other one because of the tyres and stuff like that, so. Which is another thing, you can clearly see like the guys at the front are a lot better at. There's a yellow flag on the back straight, is that going to be a caution?
It doesn't look like it. All cars are in the right direction. Mangani and Bento, I think, were the guys involved.
Yeah, they seem all fine now. Obviously when it's a wreck at the back of the field, there's not the same risk of them getting collected, so. And once again, there's Cameron, and well, once again it was the LM guys getting together with each other, it seems like, but obviously I haven't seen the replay, so I can't comment on that for sure. Wilbur seems a bit off the back of the group leaders as well, so I guess he was involved somehow.
And Garbalowski in the wall in turn 3.
There's a little bit of right front damage, but his tyres look okay, so shouldn't be too bad. He's actually managing to heat his rear tyres a bit more, but I guess that might be as a consequence of his slide into the wall.
Yeah, probably. Looking through the tire temperatures of the field, he seems to be the one with the hottest rear tires so far. Oh well, maybe except for Mangani. But he also had some issue, some spin or something earlier.
And you have the 69 of Jack Sedgwick and 33 of Jan Laprovot side by side again as we go into turn 1. Wow. 63's tyres, his right front is, well, very hot, and it's heating on the outside of the tyre as well, which can't be a good thing. I imagine the next time there's a caution he'll want to repair that. He'll probably just hope that he can make it that far and then sort it out when he gets there. Because obviously pitting under green would ruin your race, especially seeing as no one else will pit, so he won't have a draft partner either. It doesn't seem serious enough just yet, but he won't want to slide into that wall again, because that would make it a lot worse.
A contact between 91 and 66 was the issue that caused the yellow flag we were talking about.
Which was Mangani and Cameron, so... Cameron seems to have been in the wars a bit so far this race.
First of all, he got pushed into the wall by his teammates, then he got pushed into the wall by his other teammates, and then there is a mistake during clearance, from what I'm told.
Seems like at the front, the lead two, oh, they didn't, I was about to say that they managed to make a breakaway, but then Phil Diaz managed to hit the wall on the start-finish straight, which has now evened it all back up again. Because at the time, when I was about to say it, it looked like the lead two had managed to break away from the second group of two, but that's kind of put paid to that. You have the leader clear and then the three behind him, but obviously they're going to catch him. It's only a matter of time.
Alpine seems to know very well how to behave as third car behind such a drafting in such a drafting train.
Yeah, well, I guess you know, if you start bumping the guy who's bumping the car in front, the guy in the middle doesn't have as much control over where he hits that guy anymore. So it's much better just to sit behind and be patient rather than try and make, you know, bumping with three cars wouldn't really work. Maybe, you know, over one lap you might be able to get a slightly faster time, but all the other laps you'll make a mistake and it won't work. So seems to be the way to go, just to sit behind, be patient. And at least then, like in this situation where Robin Vriskops has managed to make a mistake in the last corner, you can then bump with him and you're not right up behind him, so you don't have a wreck when that happens. So it's just sensible driving, as you'd expect from guys. I mean, 3 of the top 4 have won the last, well, I guess it's 5 Kyoto 250s?
Yeah.
And Bankyo won the first one, I think, so...
Yeah, right.
You know, if anyone would know what to do in these situations, it'd be those guys, so... The experience showing through.
But now P&P, Phil and Patrick broke away.
They're going to be like the SAS of oval racing.
Oh
well, Phil Diaz hits the wall again. I don't get that, because he's hitting it on the straight. I don't know if it's like he's talking on TeamSpeak and he doesn't use push to talk, so that doesn't make sense. I have no idea. But it doesn't seem to have cost them as much this time. Just shows how tricky it is to stay concentrated in a long oval race like this, I guess.
As you pointed out, these 4 guys are the best there is currently in oval racing, at least on the LFS side.
Yeah. It seems like the draft isn't too effective. I mean, Went Yavi in the 7 has been by himself for quite a long time, and he still hasn't actually been caught by the group behind him.
Kagash causing a yellow, and he's standing there up in turn 1. He's get moving again, but he's very slow.
And the leaders will be approaching to lap him fairly shortly as well, which will be the start of the bits where it gets interesting, when you have the added curveball of a car that's being lapped in the mix. Because obviously they don't want to fall too far down in the pack either, because then it ruins their chances of getting their lap back.
Both NX cars in the wall.
Yeah, the damage is starting to show on the 9's car. He's got quite a bit of right side damage. It's not too bad, but I would have thought he'd, well, Depends if he gets a good opportunity to repair it or not. I guess he doesn't really need to, but it might make that little bit of a difference. I mean, when you start getting damage on that side of the car, it can make a bit of a difference to your top speed. So it doesn't make a difference when you're in the draft, but when you're going for that last lap run at the end of the race, it might make that little difference. But it'll be interesting to see if that changes his approach, whether he feels that he's hitting the wall because of the way he's drafting with Hall, or whether they try and get in front of him, or whether they are happy to just leave it how it is for now. Seems like quite happy to still sit behind him at the moment.
But if I'm not mistaken, the gap to the cars behind of Remco Major and Nathan Lamotte is decreasing.
Yes, well, yeah, you'd expect that, because a couple of times Phil's fallen out of the draft of Hall, so then obviously they're running at the pace of, as if, well, the lead is running it with no draft at all, so I suppose swapping the order though, they just lose even more time, and then it would become a 6-way battle, which would cost them a lot more and be a lot more risky. At least right now, they're fairly safe. You know, they're catching, but they're only catching at like half a tenth a lap, so it's going to take them a long time to catch that gap.
I could think they would hope the lapping of Megane will cause some problems for this whole group. Because they are getting close to him.
It's interesting as well to notice that even though, I mean, there's been lots of races on this combo, and I mean the physics have remained relatively unchanged for, you know, well, I say relatively, they have remained unchanged for like 6 years. You know, Hall seems to have a lot higher left side pressures, tyre pressures, than the 3 cars behind him, and it'll be interesting to see the effect of that.
As of now, these 4 cars are 1 second a lap faster than Megane. And Hall now is in the slipstream of the rookie driver from Italy.
Oh, and he's got sideways. Oh, that was well saved. He's hit the wall though. Yeah, but you could see that coming though, couldn't you? You know, he was getting so. There were so many little lag contacts and stuff, which must have been the reason Phil was hitting the wall. You know, it seemed like that was coming.
Kingsbury causing a yellow. Yellow!
Oh, no, it came at the worst time for... That was a bad sequence of events there for the 32. Gets bumped out of the lead and then drops behind the group behind and then gets a caution.
But we've seen quite a nice green flag run up to this point. I think we're just over 30 laps.
Yes. Hopefully we can have more of the same and then get down to the exciting bit at the end of the race where you start to see, you know, where people have to then start pushing to make the places up, see what happens then. Obviously right now, you know, you see people working their way up the grid, but it's kind of largely irrelevant. It's just all like, you know, the first 100 laps of the race are all just about getting yourself in the lead group so that you can be in the fight for the win. You would have thought that's going to be a interesting battle when it gets down to it. I mean, all of the lead group have got experience of winning oval races. I mean, didn't Didn't Nathan win the 500 a couple of years ago? I'm not sure.
Remco did, I think.
And they're pitting now, so I guess yes, they're gonna have to. The lead group, all the leaders are pitting now, so I guess they are gonna make the tyre change. It's our understanding that they should be okay on the fuel, so I imagine they're gonna change their tyres now, just to remove that risk. I mean, even if the tyres would, in theory, be able to go all the way, you know, they're gonna have tyre heat-up issues when, like, at the end of a caution, if they go too far.
Oh.
And who's that? Who's missed their pit box? Seems like a few guys have just had a little bit of a brain fade and have just, you know, cruised down the pits and not gone into a pit box and then realised they've run out by the end of the...
Look at Lavrikov, he's standing there behind full Diaz.
Yes, who's doing his damage repair like I said he might because of the few contacts with the wall, and it's ruining his... But I mean, it doesn't really make a big difference. I mean, he's just going to be at the back of the queue, but it's still not ideal. Obviously that's going to be a big issue for Diaz now, because he's not in the group of guys he's been working with. He's going to have to find his way through the field to get back with them. But I mean, I know in the past he's had to go from the back to the front of the queue before, and he managed it, I think, a couple of times, so it should be okay, but another unwanted challenge for him. Interestingly, Hall stayed out, so whether that means he's going to take that risk and go all the way on a set of tyres, or whether he just didn't expect them to pit so early.
Some people are now moving to the pit lane. Probably just to avoid the carnage we've seen in pit lane on the first lap.
It's possible they just didn't think of it there as well. I mean, you know, if you just at the end of it, when there's a wreck, you're not necessarily instantly thinking what the best way to take advantage of it is, and when you see the guys who have got the experience to pit, it then triggers that thing in your brain and you're like, I should have pitted there, that would have been a good call. Because I mean, there's not really a gain or a risk to driving down the pit lane. As long as you actually go into a pit slot, there's not really a big risk. I mean, there's a pit limit, and I think that there's a rule as well where you can't actually be side by side with people going into the pit road, so there shouldn't really be any issues. But I guess as well, they might possibly want to just be at the back of the pack for the restart. I mean, at least if you're at the back, you're not in... At least then, you know, if you back off, you're not going to get collected from behind. You can be as cautious as you want to be. Whereas if you... And, you know, you're probably going to make up a lot of positions when there is a crash, because, you know, that's the quickest way to make up positions, isn't it? If you know, if you don't get caught in the wreck, you'll pass 10 cars, whereas if you take a risk, you might pass 2 or 3, but you're more likely to be in that wreck when it happens.
To be honest, when I did these races, I was always the kind of guy who rather started from the back, due to these reasons you just listed.
I remember when it was some NEC race, and yes, he didn't confirm, so it was KOI2 in the FO8, and you were in that race. And
yeah.
I was hanging back, and you were hanging back even further behind me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you're less experienced, it's much more comfortable to just stay behind the fast guys and try to keep up as long with them with a certain distance to them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get a good result in the race, you have to still be in the race at the finish, so... Yeah, sometimes it's better, you know... Even if you want to be aggressive, it's about getting the timing right of when you're aggressive. It's not just, you know, blindly charging in. You've got to pick your moment. You can't just, you know, be full attack all the time, because eventually it's going to go wrong for you. And I guess that's even more true on oval than in road.
This is Hall's perspective. Well, Hall's bumper perspective. And with the restart, he will have led the 49th of 51 race laps here.
Although, to be honest, looking at the stats from previous Kyoto 500s, that doesn't really necessarily be a stat you particularly want. I mean, I think in quite a lot of years, the guy who's led the most laps doesn't win the race. I mean, like last year, Robin Briscops led 100 of the laps and didn't win the race, so just shows it's all about being in that lead group as opposed to being at the front of that lead group.
Ooh! Yellow flag.
Big wreck at the back. Only a couple of cars have gone off though.
Kingsbury Gablowski. Well, it's a very hard decision to do in time to call the caution or not, depending where the cars that are spinning are at the moment they are spinning.
Well, you know, the longer you wait to call the caution, the bigger the wreck will probably be, because once you call the caution, people start backing off. Whereas, I mean, you don't really have the same spotters as you do in real life, so you don't have the same pre-warning of when there's going to be a wreck. So, although it's still not really an excuse, it's quite easy to see when there's a wreck in front of you, when you can see the cars sideways and smoke and shit, but pardon my French.
Well, and in some situations you don't really want to be the first one to react. Probably you just get T-boned by the car behind because he didn't react.
I think the problem is, as well, with the LFS damage model, a lot of people see a big wreck as an opportunity to make up a lot of places rather than something to avoid, because, you know, a lot of people have that mentality that, well, unless I'm really unlucky when I hit this car, if I hit it, I'm going to lose a few places, maybe have to do a damage repair, but I'll still be on the lead lap. Whereas, you know, in iRacing or in real life, if you hit that car, your race will be done. So,
and even if you crawl back to pit lane, you have a pit stop of 60 minutes or so to do.
Yeah, and your car still might not be fully repaired. So, but I mean, that's just the driver mentality, you know. You've got to try and make the best of every situation, and sometimes that leads to a wreck. Unfortunately, there's not much anyone can really do about it with the way the damage model is, because, you know, if everyone else is doing it, if you don't do it, you're going to lose out, so. But like I said, it's all about choosing your moment, really, you know. Sometimes it's just stupid, sometimes you can kind of understand it. Although I'm sure Deco doesn't appreciate it. With his yearly Kyoto 250 post-race rage.
Yeah.
I don't blame him though. I helped him out with adminning the 500 last year, and that was quite a lot of wrecks that could have been, when you're adminning and you see how many of the wrecks that happen could have been avoided. It's quite frustrating sometimes, but
drive-through penalty for overtaking on the left side on the previous restart for car 720. That's Lavrikov. You're only allowed to overtake on the right side of the car until the start-finish line actually appears. The green flag is given before the kink just to avoid all the cars crashing within the kink, just because most parts of the grid are still in that area during the restart. Safety car dives down to pit lane. Green flags out.
The 420 of Major making a amazing start there. It was like all the guys, some guys like were caught out by the start, and then there's like a big group of guys who just made a huge jump. The thing to watch for is going to be the guys who are in the lead group previously trying to work their way through now. You've got Friskops and Tyron up to 9th and 10th already. And it'll be interesting to see how quickly they work their way through and whether the fresh tyres are an advantage. Safety car. The 69 of Jack Sedgwick, 96 of Krampus, and 27 of T. Wilbur. Not sure what his first name is, unfortunately. Travis. Yeah, they were the guys involved in the wreck, so... Seems that no one's race is terminally ruined, though. Which Jack should be grateful for. Usually he'd have rolled by now.
One of the most entertaining moments of Jack's rolling, in my eyes, was when he rolled on AS2 with the FXO. Which is not really the track where you flip. And
was that in the
TBO?
Yeah. I think it was AS2R, was it?
Yeah,
I think it was AS2.
AS2R,
Yeah.
You're right.
I remember hearing stories about that. But one of the comments in the race discussion thread, I'm not sure if it's been mentioned before I joined, but Jack and Yessi have been doing this race since 2011 and they're still on their rookie plates because they haven't actually completed a 250. Hopefully Jack can fix that one this time out. Seems that Yessi definitely isn't, seeing as he's already timed out the race.
Yep. Well, with that skin, you might think he would additionally have the ambition to be more successful than Kimi Räikkönen, as it is, as it was his NASCAR livery.
Are you talking about Yessi or?
Yeah, Yessi. Oh, and at the moment of the caution, Botov was in front of Hall. So it's going to actually be the first restart of this race without Hall in the front.
I wonder how that actually happened, because I guess he must have just tried to pass him or something. It'll be interesting to see how that one actually works out, because I would have thought Kapal would be more willing to work with Hall than whether maybe they try and break away or something. Might not work out to be a smart move. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Doesn't seem to be that much of a benefit to be leading right now.
It's more a statistical thing at this point.
You know, ego boosting. Yeah, I led a lap at the Kyoto 250.
So restart will be done at the end of this lap. But I really must say what is nice about this event is the fact that it still had a full grid at the start. Even in its 7th year.
Yep, well I guess it's quite appealing to guys to sign up for, because it doesn't take too much practice. I mean, you have quite a lot of guys who are doing this race, but they're not doing the whole season.
Yeah, back in the days where Lotus still existed, there were always a bunch of guys from the XSCC coming over for this race. But nowadays there is pretty much nothing comparable to this one. So it's really a one-off event. Green flag. Group of 6 cars currently in front. Hall, Boltev, Kapal, Montegitis, Valikov and Major. Lavrikov gets his drive-through penalty. He has to serve it within the next 3 laps. And the penalty must be served under green flag conditions. Kapal and Hall are starting to work together. Botev stays in their slipstream. And right now up in front we do have the 2 fastest from the hot lap qualifying session working together. Now Botef is in the middle.
3 is causing a yellow flag. He's spun out, but it looks like he's not collecting anyone, and they'll keep it going under green.
And he spins it round and is in the right direction again.
There's Jay Larikov completes her drive through penalty. Obviously using a female driver.
Yeah, that's what you get when you choose a female driver.
Remember the old joke in the demo days that, the female driver is 1 kilo lighter, it's faster to use a female driver.
Yeah, I remember that. No, actually, I was naive enough to believe it.
Yeah, I believed it for a little bit, but then I kind of thought, yeah, that's not true. But, if you've got an excuse to be, that little bit slower, you'll believe it no matter what. So, I could be faster if I used a female driver. I like that excuse.
I just try to remember if those few females that I've actually raced here on the one or the other NDR stream actually used a female driver or the male driver. Can't remember, to be honest.
I can't remember the names anymore, because the last female driver but I started when there was one really good female driver who did good in a couple of oval races. I can't remember her name.
Liana Solfrank.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. I pretty much started just as she finished, but
yeah, pretty much. She did a really good season in LFS Card Light, if I remember it correctly, and then she disappeared, sadly.
Maybe she was secretly a man and has just used a different account since.
Well, she has a Facebook profile, I think, or at least she had one back then.
BRB going to look on Facebook.
Holds falling behind Tyne and Friscops.
Sadly, I've had no luck with finding the answer on Facebook.
Same for me. Maybe she hit her profile because of all that LFS guys wanting to friend her. Meanwhile, Botef and Kapal broke away. Hole fall back behind Tyan, and I see yellow flags. The Dariad's involved. Sedgwick involved again.
Sedgwick involved in a wreck, that never happens. He hasn't got any damage though, so he should be able to carry on just fine.
Matt Kingsbury.
Yeah, Kingsbury's tyres are bright red, he's had a nice spin. As Jarl Tyan asks for permission.
So does Sedgwick.
Why do I get the feeling it's not going to be a pleasant request from them?
Could think so. At least this year we've seen at least one good green flag run. Just reading a comment under one of the links to this race. David John said, "Oh, so I've missed it this year again. Ah well, such things happen." Many pit stops right now. Velikov, Hall, Cameron, Botev, Kagash, Gablowski, Harmon, Martin, Podoriats, Kingsbury, Goga, Sedgwick, Letterello. Letterello, who is actually racing the number David Junt used to race in this race. Number 3. In a all-black Dale Earnhardt Senior skin. Matt Kingsbury and Stephen Martin with a drive-through penalty. For speeding in the pit lane for Kingsbury. And as well for Martin. We're just over the halfway mark. And the penalties for Kingsbury and Martin are cleared. As there was some bumping was involved in this. Also, Jake Cameron is getting a drive-through penalty on the restart.
Got into trouble again. He's asking for permission, gets to argue with it. So, you know, we've got halfway through the race, it's time for people to start asking for permission in the chat and to argue with the admin's decisions, clearly. Yeah,
yesterday, I think it was Ray Kingsbury who got a stop-and-go penalty for arguing with the race administration.
Why doesn't that surprise me?
Oh, and this is a chat.
He seems to be complaining.
He says 21 came right up into him.
Who ironically is his teammate, so he's like, oh, my teammate wrecked me.
It's such a cruel world.
Imagine if that happened in real life racing and a driver tried to blame his teammate and started calling him out in public. I think there'd be quite a big media storm all over that. Saying what he did was quicker, but it's still illegal, so why are you complaining?
I think in NASCAR you would get some $30,000 fine for every word you're saying against the administration.
Yeah, I don't think Deco can really do that. He'd like to, though.
Sim racing is just way too cheap to be able to fine people like that.
Yeah, Deco says that he'd love to. Maybe, one day when we all move to Assetto Corsa, have a league where there's real life money involved, and he can give people penalties.
I think one of the best ways to punish in those professional leagues, as in you're getting money for driving it, is simply to cut the money.
Cameron should just be grateful they didn't completely single-handedly destroy his race like the FIA did to Ricciardo today. Apparently, Jonathan Palmer is still calm. Why do I find that hard to believe?
Maybe after 6 years,
maybe he's like invested in like a punching bag so he can just punch under cautions, vent his fury.
Yeah,
he has a stress ball.
We should ask him after the race if it still is with the sand filled or if the sand is all over the place.
No, you should take a picture before Kyoto 250, after Kyoto 250, and just see how deformed it's become.
Green flags out.
There's a big bunch up in the middle of the pack. There's a bit of contact as well, but everyone just about managed to hang on to it as Cameron forces his way back up through the field. Seems kind of pointless, because doesn't he have a drive-through penalty? Or is it just an end-of-the-line penalty?
Drive-through.
So yeah, it seems kind of pointless to be trying to force your way through the field when you've got a drive-through anyway, but... Anyway... Who am I to argue with that? Oh, I can see what's coming, he's gonna... 91 tries to go 3 wide.
On the very inside.
He's just about, man. Yeah, he hasn't run up into anyone, but obviously he's going to get a terrible exit off the corner. His drive-through has now been applied.
He's now using his hazard lights. Velikov on the brakes, not trusting Cameron. This brings Gablowski to his back.
Cameron had a very close nearly moment there when he entered the pits, because obviously it's not something you do that after going into the pit lane under green. He had a moment where he almost managed to slide back onto the oval off the apron, but wouldn't have been that dangerous even if he had, because obviously no one really takes the bottom line in that corner. They're all in the middle of the track.
Would be much more dangerous with the F8.
Indeed, or in a road race with like GTRs and stuff. Well, obviously that's not as dangerous because the field's more spread out, but actually in the 24-hour race here I got a puncture on the apron and I managed to go off the apron at that point, but Luckily no one was around her.
A 6-car train currently in the lead. First Corps Time, Capaldius, Ventiavi and Montejuitis. Who always celebrates when I pronounce his name right.
I was thinking, as you said that, I'm not going to ever try and pronounce that name.
I remember in one or the other race I just pronounced his first name, so I called him by his first name all the time.
Well, I mean, this is like NASCAR, so surely we can just call them by their number rather than by their names. You know, that'd be a lot easier. When it's just a guy you don't know, just like, oh, just say their number instead. Won't look suspicious.
Yeah, just like when Matthias Ekström did the NASCAR races, these two, he was just called that 83 Red Bull car.
Seems a bit dangerous to ask for permission during a green flag period and asks why. Okay. Seems like some tempers are starting to get frayed now as the race gets further into the race, and he's been given a drive-through penalty.
I bet he wanted to have a caution for his incident where he was probably involved with ground push. Especially since his car doesn't look that fresh anymore.
I mean, that was actually a really big mistake because he's so far back now that when he says his drive-through, he's going to go a lap down. Obviously, I don't know if there's a time limit for how long he has to serve it, but
3 laps.
Yeah, so there's not going to be a caution in that time, surely.
Don't jinx it.
I'll just consider it karma for all the videos he's made with people's faces and embarrassed them, including myself. It seems like in the lead group the back 2 have been dropped off. Well, yeah, the guy in the back of the 6-car group's now dropped off completely from everyone, and then there's a 2-car train and a 3-car train, so...
And Joe Latrello tries to enter the pit lane but got thrown onto track again.
And gets nicely sideways as he enters the pit, but I don't know if there's a penalty for going off the apron on pit entry. I mean, no one was around, but I guess it's one of those things that gets penalised if it causes an incident, but otherwise it doesn't, so... Which Deco confirms. But as I suspected, Joe's gone a lap down.
He now forces people around him to overtake him, because he, when exiting the pit lane, you're not really up to speed at the end of lap one, of the first lap afterwards. Unless you catch a nice little slipstream like he did now with the 63 Pushetta.
then the 999 of Bento had a little moment there on the exit of 1 and slid down to the bottom of the track. He managed to hold it, but he's fallen to the back of the 3-car group that he's in, which are actually approaching Joe right now.
In this group is Bento's teammate Lavrikov and Jack Sedgwick. Oh, and a bad bump of Letterello, allowing Sedgwick and Lavrikov to go past.
And to highlight what I was saying earlier about the tyres, I think the main reason why the 2 cars at the back of the lead group have dropped away is because Wentyavi's actually overheated his right front already compared to everyone else in the front. Which I know is something he was struggling with a lot in practice, in the practice races as well, so I guess from his perspective he'll hope that it's quite a short run at the end of the race, otherwise he's going to struggle to have any chance of fighting for the victory.
So far we've had 5 leaders. Hall for 52 laps, 53 laps, Diaz for 3 laps, Botev for 11 laps, Capel for 5 laps, and Friskups for 11 laps.
There's been 33 laps and the 7 separate caution periods so far, which isn't actually, well, it's over 1/3 of the race, but it's not that bad considering how many of the laps at the very start of the race were under caution. It's been fairly clean for the first 20 or 30 laps or so, I guess. But I guess that might end soon as people start getting a bit more pushy as the race gets closer to the end. I guess for now it'll be okay, but once the next caution comes, people will, once the field's all bunched up again, everyone will feel that it's their opportunity to move forward if they want to get a good result out of the race. So,
well, as soon as that 1 in front of the lap count appears, you're starting to feel like, oh, it's actually having an end.
Yeah, indeed. I think there's quite a lot of people who can, they have a certain amount of patience where they can, wait, but then they get to that stage where it's like, oh, this race isn't actually coming to me, and they try and force the issue a little bit and get a bit pushy, and sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't as well, and there's wrecks at that point. But
Especially with margin for error being so slim around this track.
Especially with the wind, it seems to have made it quite tricky in a few areas.
On board with Martin Kapal. Just back to back with Yaltine.
Obvious to see that they're taking the same tactic as Robin was with when Phil and Hall were bumping at the start of the race, that he's just sitting back and letting them do the work themselves rather than trying to get involved, so just waiting for the right moment as the race approaches its end. Well, not yet, but later on.
First of
he
all,
hasn't done a pit stop either, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects things.
First of all, they have to approach Cameron. Bento is the wrong way in the pit lane. Or is he? No,
I think he's not in the pit lane, he's on the apron.
Oh!
Oh, he's not, he's actually off the track completely. Shouldn't that be a caution? At least he's going to have to spectate, there's no way out of there.
Yeah,
unless there was a caution and you put a ramp there or something, he's out of the race. Yeah, he's out of the race.
But
I'd like to know how he got there without there being a caution.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe he had like his LFS minimized or something? Because, yeah, he was the only guy who had a yellow flag, so either he's had like a lag contact and he's bumped someone, or just a plain like minimize of LFS or something. To look at the temp MPR and see how that happened. I'm interested now to see how he managed to do that. he had lag while he was bumping, and then he hit one of the LFS barriers and it sent him flying.
I just remember. Wasn't he the one that's the one stationary on track in Aston with a red clutch?
I don't know, might have been. But yeah, that was quite an unfortunate incident. It wasn't really happened very fast. He was just shows how quickly these races can end if you lose focus.
That's true. Or if you lose some program or something that causes you to minimize or anything.
Sadly, I have experience of retiring from mobile races. I've never finished the Kyoto 500, and I think I've done it twice. I think. Yeah, I never finished it. So that sums up my luck. I don't think I even made it halfway of either of the races, so at least all these guys have done better than I did. Obviously the Kyoto 500's a bit more... It's not necessarily more wrecks, but when you do have a wreck in an FOA, when you're going that much faster, you travel that little bit further. There's much more risk of rolling or getting knocked out of bounds, which is what happened to me. Actually, I think the first time I timed out, and then the second time I got hit out of bounds.
I remember in the first Kyoto 500 someone got a very bad lag hit. And because of LFS he was resetted onto the fencing every time LFS thought it must.
Surely should have been told to spectate before that happened, though.
We're just done the 40 laps to go. We've had an average speed of 100.5 mph. For the Europeans, that's 160, just around that in kph. And the 2012 Kyoto 250 was the fastest, with an average speed of 122, or in kph it would be 197. Currently all alone in 12th position is Mr. Hall. He fell behind quite largely, but without a drafting partner there's not much you can do.
Seems like his call to, well, he didn't make the pit stop to change his tyres at the same time as the lead group earlier in the race, and then obviously he changed his mind and decided to do it at a later point, and obviously he hasn't managed to find someone he can work his way back through the field with, so... But to me it seems fairly easy to do the whole race on a set of tyres. I mean, I don't think Martin Kopal's pitted, and his tyres look perfect, if anything, and I mean...
I think he pitted on the very first caution.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me that you'd need to, because, I mean, even on like a road course, I appeared on lap 21 of 140, so... But I mean, on a normal road course you can do... Well... 1 hour 40 is easy, but you can do like 2 hours on a set of TBO tire on road supers, and that's when you're going like flat out every lap. Whereas when you're under caution, you're not like, you have quite a lot of laps where you're not putting that much stress through the tire. So
Garbolowski spinning on the front stretch, very slow but in the right direction. Might stay green here. He's on speed again, about 100 miles now. Big moment for Yaltayan there.
that'll allow Wentyavi and Diaz to catch up a little bit, but I don't expect it's going to be enough.
Well, the gap decreased from over 2.5 seconds to 1.9, but the time span we are talking about are the last 20 laps. And I think most of the decrease was done by this mistake of Yaltayan, or lack incident of Yaltayan. Not sure.
And now it'll be interesting to see how quickly they get up to speed as well, because you know, if they stay calm, it won't take them too long. They won't really lose anything from now. But if they don't, then there's going to be an issue. And it looks like, yeah, I think Kapal just let Yaltayan through so that he can, because I guess Kapal's got a worse internet connection, so it's risky if he starts bumping. So that makes sense.
So you'd rather...
Yeah, I think they want him to sit at the back, but that's interesting. I don't think they're in the same TeamSpeak channel, so obviously that's just common sense kicking in between the two of them. Maybe he used indicators or something, I wasn't close enough to see.
Or some number plate message. Or they do have 1,000 whisper binds to choose from.
I'm pretty sure I've seen Kapal use his indicators when I'm lapping him and stuff in endurance races, so I would have expected that's what's happened, but...
Yeah, well, obviously this is just speculation.
It's possible they didn't even they just did it by themselves and didn't give him a choice, but it seems like the sensible thing to do.
30 laps to go. And a new personal best.
And that's actually the fastest, but it's faster than the lead guys are doing right now, so...
That's Pushetta. Depending on what level you're driving, it might be a goal for you to simply achieve a PB during the actual race.
Indeed, but I suppose with the wind it kind of takes the achievement out of it, because...
Garbolowski again. Puncture.
It's a rear puncture as well, so That must be interesting. Maybe he flat spotted braking or something. Like, not obviously right now, but and he missed his pit box as well.
Oh.
Let's have a look and see.
For a moment I had the fear he turned off tire change.
But yeah, I'm looking at the temp MPR right now and his rear tyres did look thin for quite a while. Maybe he got caught out by the long green flag run. Because obviously once you commit you can't really do anything about it, you just got to hope there's a caution. But I guess that's caused by earlier on in the race we noticed that his rear tyres were hotter than everyone else's. I guess that's part of the reason why he's run into these troubles now. And shows why everyone was changing their tyres as a precaution, sort of after 50 laps of the race or so.
Well, that's actually...
make it, it's kind of risky.
Oh, Joe Latrello comes into pit lane. He was way too fast. Through. Well,
Not sure, he's retiring.
He's retiring. He entered the pit lane via the safety car pit lane entry, so he would have gotten a penalty.
I suppose he was already quitting before then, though. I think he was a lap down, so I guess he just had enough. He seemed a bit annoyed earlier on in the race, so it makes sense.
For a moment I thought, well, finally he has got someone to fight with, as Gabalowski is also that far down.
Can't imagine fighting over last place is particularly inspiring, though.
Not really, but at least you have something to fight for. First corps led 38 laps. And they now overlapped Magani. Speaking of fighting for a last place, I remember having read somewhere that back in the old days there was the black jersey for the last place rider in Tour de France.
That seems kind of embarrassing and harsh. It's like, here, you can have this prize for being the worst cyclist in history.
Yeah, the problem though was that somewhere around halfway through the tour, suddenly riders started to back off and make it extremely slow. Simply
to try and get it.
Yeah.
I just have this image in my head of like what Lance Armstrong did with his yellow jerseys, taking a picture of him with them when he knew he was going to lose them anyway. It's like, here's my yellow jerseys. I can't imagine someone doing that and be like, here's my black jersey, guys. I suppose it's still a souvenir, proof that you've been in there, though. But
yeah, right. Just like when you're in the room of some former Olympic competitor, they always have the Olympic, well, what is it called, diploma, hanging in their room. Just to say, hey, I've been to the Olympic Games. I just get the question if back in these old days with the black jersey, if there were any doping controls.
Yeah, take some drugs that make you worse at cycling.
Or simply
Just get
take
drunk.
some weight.
It sounds like just get drunk before the races. To me,
Yeah.
that sounds like the best way.
All the day.
I saw someone lagging there. I think it might be yeah, it's
Wilbur.
Yeah.
Then he returns, and then he is...
I actually remember him lagging yesterday on the public server that we were on, so... It always confuses me because he has the same sort of coloured name as the NX drivers, and his skin isn't that different either. For a second I thought it might be one of the leaders, but it wasn't, so...
Well, he's racing for Advocare Racing.
Out of interest, has there ever been a long green flag run before the finish of the Kyoto 250? Has that ever happened before?
Ooh. Good question.
Because I mean the field is quite spread out right now.
And there are just
I'm sure it's
21 laps
sure
left. So the longest green flag run was 79 laps from the start of the race, and then there was some 69 lap run in 2012 in the middle of the race. But I think before the end of the race there haven't been such.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember any, but to be honest, I suppose that's not that surprising. I mean, even right now, you would have thought, even though all the field's spread out, there's only going to be 3 drivers on this grid who don't want a caution right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, the lead 3 are all going to want there to be no caution, but everyone else will be praying for a caution, so...
I think in the first Kyoto 250 there was a 12 lap run to the checkered. And I remember, I think I remember it correctly because I nearly caused a caution right before the end, and that one.
Is that like your black jersey of the Kyoto 250?
Well, I don't think I finished last. I think I was 10th or so. We had a huge rate of retirements during that race, so, well... What I remember the most from the race is that laps before the end of the race I saw Ben Q in my mirrors, and I had the option either to try to let them pass safely or to simply stay ahead. I chose to stay ahead, which was the right option, as I've seen afterwards in his little clip of the last few laps, because I think they were also racing in a 3-car pack, and I don't know if I had seen them all the way I would have needed to see them.
That'd be kind of quite catastrophic if you're letting someone lap you and you just turn in on them.
Yep.
The leaders picking up their pace right now. Seems like there's no hope that anyone's going to catch them. It's just, unless there's a caution, obviously. Really starting to work well together now. As I say that, they hit the wall. Commentator's curse right there. I like this commentator business. If I don't like someone, I can just be like, they're doing a really good job right now.
And boom, they're at the wall.
Jack Sedgwick is doing a really good job of bumping Larikov. Cross fingers, wait for roll.
Knocking on wood. Now Wilbur is getting lapped by Friskops.
Hopefully his internet connection stays stable while they're lapping them. Otherwise that could be quite a scary moment.
Well, it's now taking the very outside.
Seems like there's a bit of a miscommunication, because at first Robin was going to go on the outside, but then he cut to the inside and they lost a bit of speed, but there's not really any risk right now. They just need to take it easy and wait for... Well, they all need to position each other themselves for the end of the race. There's not really any threat from behind right now, as long as they don't wreck each other. That would be kind of quite catastrophic. You're in the lead group, wreck each other, cause a caution.
Yeah, and then there's just a small window left of green flag laps. Oh, Wilbur!
Yep, he timed his lag spike quite well. He's done it when he's behind them.
And Prashetta joined spectators.
Obviously, the worst thing about that for him is it means he can't actually draft with them either. He's going to just fall back. Yep, he's lost their draft already, so... That means there should be a few laps before the next group of cars catches him, so... Should be safe for now.
23 laps to go.
I can't describe how scary it is when you're coming up to lap a car and they're lagging, because you know that if they appear inside you, there's nothing you can do. Your race is ruined. In my first ever NDR League race, it was LFS Kart Light at SO5R, I think it was. On the formation lap, David Junt lagged in front of me, and I appeared in his car, and it sent me off the track. It was a good way to start my NDR career. I remember I shouted very loudly, but luckily I didn't press my push to talk, so that memory will be only mine.
And it seems like Friskops and Tyne have dropped the world record holder on this combo.
Which is quite disappointing for him. He was looking... Kapal was obviously looking forward to try and get his first win in the 250.
Well, Friskops is the second one on the hot lap rankings, just 0.01 seconds behind Kapal.
I didn't actually know that.
Kagash makes room for Tyne and Friskops. Ooh, doesn't work out that way, that well. Oh, we've got a car. That's Ray Kingsbury. He's running in the right direction again. No car around him. So we stay green. Someone's in the pit lane.
No, it's 10 laps to go. And at the front we have Robin Friskops and Jarl Tyne, both looking to win their second 250s. Obviously, Jarl trying to defend his his win last year, and Robin trying to... Well, he won it the year before that and led the most laps last year, and then had a last lap collision which cost him the race. Well, actually, I think not sure it was the last lap, but it was at least the last green flag run. It was Ray Kingsbury, if I remember correctly.
I think there was some huge last green flag run crash, if I remember it correctly. Not sure though. They're now running to Ronnie Krompusch, who's setting his indicator. And we are green flag since lap 78 of this race.
It's definitely unprecedented that it can go green this long at this stage of the race. I mean, you get sometimes long green flag runs, but usually it's sort of at the start or in the middle of the race, not at the end. You would have thought people get a bit more excited, but I mean, I guess everyone's in their own little group right now, and there's not that much point to start battling each other.
Yeah, and the incidents we've seen, either they were so much so wide off the track that it simply didn't make sense to call a caution.
Yeah, I suppose actually that's probably another reason. You know, there's been incidents, but they haven't, just the way it's worked out, that it hasn't actually been dangerous for other cars, so they haven't called a caution. And there's a 4-car battle over 8th to 11th place right now.
They're just
although
half
it looks like it's actually over before it's even started. As the 77 and the 720 just blew past 34 and 19.
Just to give you an impression, these 4 cars are.
It looks to me like either 34 has engine damage or his 5th gear is really long, because he's revving nowhere near as high as everyone else. Yeah, I think his 5th gear is just longer, but it sounds like it's not in its right rev range. At least to me, like, I can hear a sound difference. It doesn't feel like it has that same torque to it. I don't know if it's engine damage or if it's just because he's got a longer gear, but I didn't notice it earlier on. Might partly explain why those 2 guys just blew past them like there was nothing.
6 laps to go.
Also, there's the 2 LLM drivers of Nathan and Remco catching up to the 2 Inex drivers of Yavi and Diaz. Very slowly, but you can see that the Inex drivers are getting a bit crossed up and making a few mistakes, and it's allowing them to close. There's 5 laps to go. And actually, it's not just that. The 2 Inex guys are catching up with Kapal, he is drafting with Kagash, but last lap he lost 0.4 of a second to them, so that could be a interesting battle, but it might be a bit too much, especially seeing as now having a couple of lag contacts as well. But I guess that's part of the problem as well, when you're bumping with someone who's a lap down. They're probably a lap down for a reason, and they're not quite as fast through turn 3, and even though you can gain the time on the straight, you just lose time in the corner as well, so there's probably not that much Martin can do.
There's a yellow flag. One, this.
Safety car, safety car. And that will be not what the lead 2 would have wanted.
Ray Kingsbury and Botev.
It was obviously too good to be true, too much to hope for, that it could go green for that distance. As you can clearly see the guys at the front trying to heat their tyres up. I mean, Robin Friscott's very aggressively, you can see the smoke pouring off his tyres, I guess it's a tactic to try and wear down the front tyres, not so much the heat, but if you can wear the tyre down when you have that last little, when you're having that run to the line, if your tyres are that little bit thinner, you'll gain that little fraction of top speed and it might make that difference. I'd imagine it's more about that at least than the temperature itself. It's kind of ironic that Kingsbury has an accident and then the LLM guys who are behind I think it was P6 and P7 are now having a chance of fighting for the podium or the victory. It seems a bit suspicious, but have to watch it before I make any comment.
And now it's going to be very difficult to keep the tires warm as the safety car slows down to 40 miles an hour just to be able to still get a restart of this race.
It's interesting to see the way that the different approaches of the two front guys has gone. I mean, Robin heated up his front tyres a lot more, but Jarl
And we just heard the voice of the race director. The race will end under caution.
Which means Robin Friskops is the winner of the 250. That seems a bit of a shame, to be honest. I mean, seems a bit of a shame. I mean, feel sorry for Jarl as well. He's just sitting in that group all race, just waiting for the opportunity at the end of the race. And because of a caution at the wrong moment, it screws him over. It seems a bit harsh.
Well, that's the extra bit of luck you always need if safety cars are a factor in these races.
Indeed.
So yeah, congratulations to Robin Friskops for his second Kyoto 250 win.
And we hear that the incident between 25 and 46 will be investigated after the race. I'll have to have a quick look at that now and have a see what happened.
They're entering final lap.
I'm watching right now, and Kingsbury has massive damage previous to that, and he kept on just hitting the wall rather than slowing down, and then he spun, but I had it in fast forward so I didn't really see exactly what happened. And actually looking at that incident, it looks like, well, at least at first glance, it looks like raised innocent party in that. I mean, he has massive damage and perhaps he should have pitted already, or at least made sure he wasn't in the racing line, but he was just driving along, and obviously he was having to slow down a lot more in the corners, and then Boltaev just came in and ploughed through him, and they both spun. So. Anyway,
So
seems
on
like
board,
a
the
shame
last
way.
meters. And
Like a
there we have
sad way
it.
to end the race, but it happens.
Robin First Cups wins in front of Jarl Tyen and Martin Kapal. So we have got two former winners and well, the world record holder on the podium, so it's pretty much the favorites on it. First Cups has led the last 61 laps back to back. And the First Cups and Tyen are and Deas behind. And Ventiavi.
They're all in the same TeamSpeak channel, so. Everyone seems to be well behaved. It's a pleasant change at the end of an oval race.
And now celebrations for Robin First Cups.
Hopefully that'll make up a little bit for the fact that he didn't manage to qualify for the DWC race on Saturday, so hopefully this makes up for it a little bit.
Yeah, that would be nice. So, session complete. So, we are watching how Friskup's tires pop. A nice side note, 26 finishes. We only lost 4 races. 8 cautions overall. 2 nice long green flag runs. And these are the complete results. First Cups wins in front of Tyen and Kapal. 4th place to Ventiavi in front of his teammate Diaz. 6th place Lamoth and Remco Maillard, also from the same team. Velikov and Lavrikov in 8th and 9th. Montejutis in 10th. Fedoriats 11th. Hall, who had a very strong first part of the race, down in 12th place. 13th for Jack Sedgwick in front of Frenchman Jan Laprevot with one of his rare LFS races these days. Stephen Martin in 15th, Matt Kingsbury in 16th, 17th Golga, 18th Krumpush, 19th Botev, 20th Harmon, then Wilbur, Mangani, Kagash, Gabalowski, Cameron, and last but not least Ray Kingsbury in 26th. The 4 races we sadly have lost here in this race were Gustav Puschetta, then Joe Latriello, Jorge Bento, Jesse Telkele, and Roman Kvivko didn't start at all. And I'm now joined by the 2014 Kyoto 250 winner. Congratulations, Robin Friskops.
Thanks. Feels good to win the race again.
Yeah, just have heard you didn't qualify yesterday for DWC, so is it kind of a relief that you're winning this one here?
Yeah, it feels good to win this race after having such really bad for DWC yesterday, so it's really a relief.
So how was it for you in this race?
I wasn't much happening really, like I was just getting bump dropped the whole race, and like at the first part I was just staying behind Phil and Kapal, just saving fuel and just taking it easy since we were going at a good speed and we were pulling away from people behind, so we just kept it like that. And then at the end it was just me and Arox, we pitted at the same time and we managed to gain positions on every caution, and then we managed to get up to second and third for the final caution, like for the finish. So we were just bump drafting, and we had Kapal behind us, and when there was a lapped car at turn 3 and at 1 lap, we managed to lose Kapal, so we just pulled away, and yeah, then a safety car came out, which is a shame because
when things don't go.
It would have been fun to have a battle with Arox at the end, but yeah, it's fine. I'm sure Arox would probably not agree that it's fine, though.
Yeah, true.
It's always a shame when it ends like that, but I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, that's the thing when you're having these two car trains which bump drop each other, that the guy ahead is gonna have the, like, if there is a safety car at the end, he's the one who's gonna win the race, so. Yeah, but then again, I suppose it's the other way around as well, that you would have thought that the guy behind is the one who's going to be the most likely to win if there isn't a caution, because they can choose the moment to pass, whereas the guy in front is sort of stuck on what they can do. I mean, I don't have the same oval experience as you guys, but I would have thought that Alex probably would have had a fairly good chance, considering he was the guy running behind before that. Yeah, I think it would have a really good chance of getting me, because since I was in front, I think my tires were getting worse than his, so I was burning right front a bit, going so fast in turn 3 and stuff. And then the draft is so strong when you come out of turn 3 that yeah, he would have had a good chance at the end if there wasn't a safety car at the end. Did the wind particularly affect how your tires were heating up, or was it just the normal? I think there was wind, wasn't there? Yeah, there was a wind, but I think it was only like 6 miles an hour, and it didn't really affect much. I think that turn 3 was has slightly less grip on the exit. I don't even know where the direction of the wind was, but there wasn't much of a difference at all to zero wind. And Alex, what are your feelings after that race? If you're there.
I'm here. It was a long race. Good to be over with. Would have liked to see a fight at the end, but it didn't happen. But I don't really care. Still second place.
At least you aren't banned from LFS, I guess. That's one positive.
Yeah, I can take that on for future histories.
Yeah, I thought you were going to wreck Ray Kingsbury on the in-lap, get banned from LFS too.
I had that.
Add it to your long list of bans.
Yeah, I'm building it up slowly but surely.
Well, you know, just boot up cheat engine on the last lap. NOS past some people.
Yeah, luckily they don't have such a cheat detection like iRacing does, so it's hard to get caught in lift speed.
So we now also have the third placed Mark Kapal here in the channel, the world record coder here, today finishing on the last podium spot. How does it feel?
Hello everyone. It feels great. last year I think I was 5th in the end, and so it's a great race for me. Although at first it looked like I wouldn't start at all, because when I came to my PC like 30 minutes before the race, it wouldn't start. It just couldn't start up. So I was like, what the hell is going on? So I tried to move onto my notebook because I couldn't fix it. And finally, when I was almost ready, the PC started working again. So I quickly rushed again and reconnected everything, the wheel, the keyboard and everything back to the PC, and managed to join in time. So I was quite lucky. Yeah, overall the race was pretty clean. I was surprised by the long green flag runs. Didn't expect that. And last thing I wanted to mention is that I wanted to finish without a pit stop, which didn't work out. I got crashed in the first laps. Yeah. And of course, congratulations to Robin Friskups for the win. I had some great bumping with him and Thilo.
Thanks, you three. If you want, you could now say something in your native language. Starting with you, Robin.
Okej. Bra kört där också, synd att vi inte kunde fightas i slutet. Ja.
Okay, that was short. Arabs?
Ja, det var morsomt det, Robin. Gratulerer.
Okay, and last but not least, you, Martin.
I did a little bit.
Oh well, that was faster than expected, to be honest. We're now also joined by our race director, Jonathan Palmer, to tell us that we shall now slowly come to an end. So yeah, this year's edition of the Kyoto 250 was pretty good, to be honest. The finish was kind of unfortunate. Don't you think so, Isaac? Oh well, he just rage quitted for the Kyoto post-race commentary. So yeah, the finish was kind of not fitting to the way the race surprised me. Yeah, I think this is also what Isaac would have said. Maybe not. Anyway, good night. It was nice to have you as watchers here. So long until the next race from Kyoto or from anywhere else. Bye.
Bye.